The great throne room of Eldrathha was filled with light, music, and silent whispers. Alien nobles in long robes stood along the walls, their faces painted with pride and secrets. At the center, the king of Eldrathha sat on his golden throne, eyes cold and sharp like knives. Next to him stood Princess Valeura, tall, graceful, and quiet. Her silver eyes stared at the floor. She did not speak. She did not smile. Today she was no longer a princess. She was a gift. Across from her, the human stood calmly. His name was Captain Raylan Voss. He was dressed in simple black uniform with Earth's silver star on his chest. He had come for peace talks. But he did not expect a gift. "This," the king said, his voice strong, "is my daughter Valeura. She cannot bear children. She is of no value to our royal line. So, as a sign of trust and peace, I offer her to you, human." The room went silent. Then, soft laughter. Hidden behind hands. Nobles whispering things like, "A broken princess," handed to a creature of earth. Valeura kept her head down. Her hands shook, but she said nothing. Raylan looked at the king, then at Valeura. He saw pain in her eyes. Not weakness, pain. He could see she had not chosen this. "She is a person," Raylan said quietly. The king raised an eyebrow. "Yes, a person, and with no future." Raylan stepped forward. "Then she will have one with me." Gasps, shock. Even Valeura lifted her eyes. No one expected the human to accept her. "You accept the gift?" the king asked. "I do." Valeura's heart beat fast. No one had ever stood up for her before. Not like this. She had been told she was useless, a shame to the family. And now this human, this stranger, was choosing her. "Very well," the king said. "She is yours." And just like that, her life changed. Later, on Raylan's ship, the Nova Wind, Valeura sat in a quiet room. It was simple but clean. A soft bed, books, warm lights. Not like the cold stone chambers of the palace. Raylan entered with a small tray. "I brought food, earth food. You might not like it." She looked up, unsure. "Why, are you being kind to me?" He sat across from her. "Because I don't believe in throwing people away. I was given to you like an object." "You're not an object." Silence. Valeura touched her own arm, still not believing this was real. "They told me I couldn't have children, that I was useless to the throne. But I was never tested twice. Only once. After my stepmother joined the royal house." Raylan frowned. "Do you think she lied?" "I don't know. But after she came, everything changed. I was locked away. I was told I was broken." Raylan leaned back, thinking. That sounds like a setup. Maybe they wanted you gone. Valeura's eyes watered, but she blinked it away. "Why would you care? You don't know me." Raylan gave her a small smile. "Because sometimes humans see what others ignore." Back on Eldrathha, the king sat in his dark chamber, staring at the stars. One of his advisors entered. "My king." The human accepted her. He took her onto his ship. The king nodded slowly. "Was that expected?" the advisor asked. "No," the king said coldly. "I expected him to refuse, to insult her, to prove she is trash. But now we may have a problem. Should we bring her back?" The king's eyes glowed red in the dim light. "No," he said. "Let her go. She is no longer of this world." But deep inside, something twisted in his chest, a feeling he hadn't felt in years. Fear. Meanwhile, Raylan walked out of Valeura's room and stood alone, staring at the stars through the ship's window. He didn't know what he had just stepped into. But something about Valeura's silence, her hidden strength, made him sure of one thing. This was no ordinary gift. This was the beginning of something much, much bigger. Valeura stood at the edge of the viewing deck aboard the Nova Wind, staring into the vast sea of stars. Her long white gown shimmered in the dim light. Behind her, soft footsteps approached. She didn't need to turn around. She already knew who it was. "You've been out here for a while," Raylan said gently. "I've never left my planet before," she whispered. "Now I'm light years away, just like that." Raylan walked beside her and looked out too. "You're not just away, you're free." Valura's lips trembled. "Free?" "I was handed over like a broken object. I was never asked, never warned. No one cared what I wanted." Raylan didn't argue. He simply nodded and said, "That changes now." For the next few days, Raylan treated Valura like an honored guest, not a discarded princess. She was confused, at first, suspicious even. But soon she noticed things that were strange to her. He didn't give orders. He asked. He didn't mock her silence. He listened. He didn't see her as weak. He saw her as someone who had survived. Raylan showed her Earth literature, old music, and even made her laugh with human stories about mistakes and love. Valura was surprised by how simple things made her feel warm, like the way he made tea and offered it with 2 hands, or how he always asked if she was okay. No one had ever done that before. One evening, she found herself sitting in the ship's garden bay, a small dome with real Earth plants. Flowers bloomed under artificial sunlight. It reminded her of the palace gardens where she was once allowed to play as a child. Before she was labeled infertile and locked away, Raylan walked in with a small device. "What's that?" she asked. "A medical scanner," he said. "Don't worry, it doesn't hurt. I just want to check something." She looked at him with fear. "No more tests, I've had enough." He paused. "I promise. No one will ever force anything on you again. But this, it might help you learn the truth." Valura hesitated, then slowly nodded. Raylan ran the scan. The device blinked and beeped softly. After a moment, he froze. "What is it?" she asked. He turned the screen to her. "You're not infertile," he said, voice low and calm. "You're perfectly capable of bearing life." Valura's body stiffened, her eyes widened and her lips parted, but no words came. The world around her seemed to spin. Then, "It was a lie," she whispered. Raylan nodded. "Someone wanted you removed from power." Her hands clenched into fists. "Her stepmother. It had to be her. They told everyone I was broken. They took everything from me. My title. My future. My voice." Raylan looked at her. "But they didn't take your strength." Tears rolled down Valura's cheeks, but she didn't sob. She simply looked at him and said, "Why are you helping me?" Raylan shrugged. "Because someone should have a long time ago." Far across the galaxy, in the halls of the Eldrathan Palace, the stepmother watched a secret transmission. A spy drone had followed the Nova Wind. It recorded everything, including Valura's scan results. She crushed the glass in her hand. "She was supposed to vanish," she hissed. Her personal guard stepped forward. "Should we act?" "Yes," she said coldly. "If the truth spreads, my hold on the throne weakens. We must stop her before that child grows inside her." The guard's eyes widened. "She's pregnant." "Not yet," the stepmother said, voice like ice. "But if that human is close, to her, it's only a matter of time." Back on the Nova Wind, Valura stood in front of a mirror, hands on her stomach. For the first time in her life, she saw not weakness, but possibility. Raylan walked past her door, unaware that behind it, a princess was rising again, not as a royal trophy, but as a woman about to change her galaxy. The stars outside the Nova Wind were still, but inside the ship, a storm had begun. Valura gripped the edge of the table in the medbay, her breath coming fast and shallow. Her hands trembled. Her skin, usually a calm silver glow, had shifted to a pale shimmer. Something inside her was changing, something big. Raylan stood beside her, worry written across his face. "You've been dizzy for 3 days," he said. "You nearly collapsed this morning." I thought it was stress, she whispered. Nightmares, hunger, fear. Not this? Raylan motioned for the ship's medical AI to begin a deeper scan. The floating unit moved over her silently. Lights flashed. A soft hum filled the room. Valura sat quietly, hands in her lap, heart pounding. Part of her already knew the answer. The scan finished. The AI beeped softly. Scan complete, it said. Fetal heartbeat detected. Life signs are strong. Estimated, 5 weeks into gestation. Valura didn't move. The words hit her like thunder. I'm pregnant? She asked softly, almost in disbelief. Raylan froze too. Then, slowly, he smiled. You're pregnant, he said, voice steady but full of emotion. Valura stared at the screen. A tiny glowing dot pulsed. Her child. A child they said she could never have. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She wasn't broken. She wasn't cursed. She wasn't less. Raylan placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You were right. They lied to you. You were never the problem. Valura closed her eyes. I don't know whether to scream or laugh. Raylan chuckled. Do both. News traveled faster than light. A cloaked drone ship near the asteroid belt had picked up their scans. The encrypted medical file had been hacked. Within hours, it was on the royal advisor's desk. The king crushed the data tablet in his hand. His golden armor clanked as he stood from his throne. She carries a child, he barked. Yes, my king, the advisor said carefully. A hybrid, human and Eldrathan blood, fully healthy, male, possibly with trace royal DNA. Impossible. It's already spreading across the outer houses. The nobles are whispering. Some say it's the prophecy. The king roared in anger. She was infertile, that's what I was told. His voice echoed through the palace. Servants froze. Guards lowered their heads. He turned to the shadows beside his throne. Get me the High Hunter. I want that child erased. I want the human's head on my wall. Back on the Nova Wind, Valura sat in her room, both hands on her stomach. Raylan had left her alone to rest, but sleep wouldn't come. She kept staring at her reflection in the glass wall. I'm going to be a mother, she whispered. I was told I was less than nothing, but now, her thoughts drifted to her people, her younger sister, the children in the palace who never looked her in the eyes. Would they still look away now? She stood, walked to the center of her room, and placed her palm on the old family crest etched into the wall of her luggage, a symbol she was forced to abandon. I will protect you, little one, she whispered to her unborn child. Even if I must face the stars alone. Raylan, meanwhile, was speaking with Admiral Fenn through a secure channel. You're telling me the Eldrathan king is sending assassins? The Admiral asked. Raylan nodded. That baby changes everything. It proves their royal bloodline isn't pure like they claimed. Valura's child could have a legal right to the throne, and he's half human. Raylan didn't flinch. Exactly. Admiral Fenn rubbed his chin. Then you need to disappear. I'll scramble your registry. You'll be ghosts in the system. Thank you, Admiral. And Raylan? Yes? Take care of her. You're not just carrying a passenger now, you're carrying the future. That night, Valura had a dream. She saw a child running through golden fields, half her face like Raylan's, the other like her own. The child laughed. Behind them stood a tower made of light and fire. The tower had her father's symbol at the top, but it was cracking. She awoke with tears in her eyes. The galaxy had changed, and there was no turning back. In the darkest corner of the royal war chamber, red light flickered on the king's face. He stood before a massive hollow map of the galaxy, his golden cloak dragging behind him like a shadow. His eyes burned with fury, not just as a father, but as a ruler humiliated. She carries a hybrid child, he growled, born of a human. Born of betrayal. The court was silent. No one dared speak. Only the cold hum of the map filled the room. A general stepped forward, eyes low, Your Majesty, the people are beginning to talk. Many believe the princess was never infertile. Some now call her the mother of the new bloodline. The king slammed his fist into the console. Sparks flew. That child is not royal, he shouted. It is an abomination! But enough. I command it declared illegal by royal law. Let it be known, any child born of Lyara and that human shall be denied name, rights, and life. And the human, he dies. Far away aboard the Nova Wind, Raylan finished reading the new royal order. His hands clenched the data tablet. Lyara sat across from him, pale and silent. So, she said finally, voice quiet. He wants our child, erased from existence. Raylan looked at her. He's scared. He should be, Lyara whispered. The news of the royal decree echoed across the star systems. It reached rebel colonies, trade ships, and neutral planets. The words were clear. The unborn child of Princess Lyara and the Earthman shall not be allowed to live. But something unexpected began to happen. Instead of fear, voices rose. Alien mothers whispered to each other. They fear a baby? Outlaw, clans asked. If the king is so angry, maybe that child really matters. On planets where humans and aliens already worked side by side, the declaration became a joke. Some even printed posters that said, illegal child now, free galaxy, a spark had lit a fire, and the king had poured oil on it. Back on the ship, Lyara held a small silver locket. Inside was the first scan image of her unborn son. Just a bright spot, but to her, it was more powerful than any crown. I used to dream of being loved, she said, not looking up, not worshipped, not feared, just loved. Raylan sat beside her. You are loved, not just by me, by everyone who sees what's happening. Lyara smiled faintly. He's scared because he knows the truth. That child has my blood. And now he has a claim the king can't erase. Raylan nodded. That's why we need to leave now. The ship's engines warmed. Destination. A hidden colony on the edge of the shattered belt. No laws, no kings, just survivors and ghosts. But as the Nova Wind prepared for flight, a small blinking light appeared on the radar. Incoming vessel, the AI warned. Cloaked, signature. No official ID, speed, attack level. Raylan jumped into the pilot seat. They found us. Lyara placed a hand on her belly and said calmly, let them come. Outside, a sleek black hunter ship broke through the nebula. The High Hunter himself sat at the helm, an assassin trained by the royal family. He had no name, no voice, only targets, and Lyara was at the top of the list. Raylan didn't waste time. He pushed the engines to maximum, diving the Nova Wind into a field of broken moons. Giant chunks of ice and rock spun around them like slow blades. It was a deadly place to fly, but it was their only chance. Hold on, Raylan shouted. Lyara closed her eyes, whispering a promise to her unborn child. You will live. I swear it. The chase began. Lasers cut through the darkness. The hunter ship fired over and over, but Raylan flew like a ghost. His ship dodged through, gaps, skimming burning rocks, vanishing into shadow. Inside the Nova Wind, sparks flew. Alarms blared. We can't outrun them forever, Raylan shouted. Lyara's eyes glowed with sudden fire. Then don't. Trap them. Raylan looked at her. You have a plan? I was raised in the palace. I know how they think. Together, they lured the hunter ship into a narrow tunnel within a hollow asteroid. Raylan killed the lights. Total silence. The hunter moved in, scanning. Then, boom. Raylan triggered the charges. The asteroid cracked apart, fire and metal shot, into space. The hunter ship exploded into pieces. Silence returned. Lyara sat beside Raylan, breathing heavily. He declared our child illegal, she said. But that man just died trying to kill it. Raylan looked at her. That's what makes it powerful. And behind them, far in the distance, the king watched a final video from the assassin's ship, Valura standing tall beside the human, belly glowing softly, voice clear. This child is not illegal. He is the future. The king crushed the screen in rage. The Nova wind drifted silently through deep space. All lights were off, no signals, no movement, only darkness around them. Raylan and Valura hid in silence, knowing that after destroying the royal assassin, they had become enemies of an empire. But silence would not protect them for long. Raylan stood in the cockpit staring at the navigation map. There's only one path left, he said. Valura stepped beside him. Her hand rested on her belly. The Forbidden Zone? Raylan nodded. No one goes there. No patrols, no cities, just storms, gravity traps, and old war debris from 1,000 years ago. Which means they won't follow, Valura whispered. Which means, Raylan said, we might not make it out either. Valura looked into the darkness. Then we go. The Forbidden Zone was a graveyard of stars. It was where ancient fleets had died. Broken ships floated like ghost bones. Black holes hummed with silent hunger. Light bent and twisted. Even sound seemed to vanish here. As they entered the zone, the ship groaned. Lights flickered. Gravity pulled from strange angles. Valura gripped the edge of the chair, breathing slowly. You okay? Raylan asked. She nodded. He's kicking. Raylan smiled. Good. He's a fighter. But just as the tension eased, a warning beep echoed through the ship. Multiple energy spikes ahead, the AI said. Unstable wormhole fields detected. Raylan cursed under his breath. The map's changing faster than expected. The whole zone is collapsing in on itself. Valura narrowed her eyes. Can we get through? We'll have to. There's no going back. Outside, space twisted like a nightmare. Wormholes opened and closed like blinking eyes. One wrong turn and they would be ripped apart. But Raylan flew like his life depended on it, because it did. The ship dived into a narrow path between two broken moons. Valura gasped as pieces of wrecked alien cruisers floated past the window, rusted, cracked, dead for centuries. And then, a sudden pulse. The ship jerked, alarms blared. We've been pulled into a gravity well, Raylan shouted. The ship tilted hard. Valura was thrown against the wall. She winced, holding her belly. Raylan fought the controls. Engines failing. Power draining fast. In the distance, an old space station appeared. It was broken, tilted, but still had life support. Just barely. That's our only chance, he shouted. He guided the Nova wind to dock, sparks flying from the hull. The ship scraped into the station and slammed to a halt. Systems died. Darkness swallowed them. When Valura woke up, she was inside the station. A soft light glowed overhead. She was lying on a strange alien bed. Beside her, an old, alien woman sat quietly holding a scanner. Who? Valura whispered. The woman smiled, her voice warm but weak. Do you remember me, child? I was your nurse when you were very small. I was sent away when your stepmother came. Valura's heart pounded. Melia? The woman nodded. You always had a strong heart. Tears filled Valura's eyes. How did you survive? I escaped, hid here. This station used to belong to healers. I've kept it alive. And now, fate has brought you back to me. Valura smiled through tears. Then help me, my child. He's close. Melia touched her belly gently. He is strong, and you are ready. In the control room, Raylan powered up the emergency systems. The station was old but stable, for now. But the readings showed something worse. Another storm was coming. A wave of collapsing wormholes would wipe out everything in the zone within hours. He ran back to Valura's chamber. We don't have much time, he said. We have to deliver the baby now. We can't wait. Valura looked at him. calm but focused. Then let's bring him into the galaxy. With Melia's help, the birth began. Outside, stars exploded silently as the zone fell apart. Inside, a cry broke the silence. A baby boy was born. His skin had a soft glow, a mix of Eldrathan, silver and human warmth. His eyes opened wide, bright blue like Raylan's but with a golden ring like the Eldrathan royals. Valura held him close, smiling through sweat and tears. "My son," she whispered, "the galaxy will know you. But first, we must survive." Raylan carried Valura and the baby to the backup shuttle. The old station shook behind them. Flames sparked. Time was running out. He launched into the black, riding the edge of a collapsing wormhole. The shuttle twisted and shook, metal screaming. But Raylan held steady, teeth clenched. Valura held the baby tight. "You'll have a name, a life, a throne." "Maybe." Raylan looked at her. "But first, we find safety." And just as the explosion swallowed the old station, their ship vanished into a new path. Far from kings, far from death, but straight into history. The twin moons of Eldratha hung low over the capital city as storm clouds rolled across the royal palace. Whispers filled the marble halls. Servants exchanged nervous glances. Nobles avoided eye contact. Something was wrong. Something big was coming. In the throne room, the king sat alone, cold eyes staring at the galaxy map. His once powerful voice had grown quiet in recent days. Every night, he watched the stars. Every morning, he woke up expecting war. Then came the news he feared most. "My king," said a guard kneeling. "A ship approaches. It does not carry weapons, but it carries her." The king's face twitched. "Valura?" The guard nodded. "And the child." The king stood up slowly. "Prepare the court. They want a show. Let's give them one." As the palace gates opened, the people gathered in thousands. Word had spread faster than any royal messenger. The princess had returned, with the heir. Valura walked slowly through the golden archway, wearing a silver robe that shimmered like starlight. In her arms, she held the child. Raylan walked beside her, armored, but unarmed. The nobles stared in silence. Some eyes held awe, others held fear. But no one dared stop them. Inside the grand chamber, the king waited on his throne. Valura stopped at the center of the hall, directly beneath the ancient symbol of the royal bloodline. She looked up at her father without bowing. "I am not here as a daughter," she said clearly. "I am here as a mother." The king said nothing. "Valura," continued, "you told the galaxy my child was illegal, that he was born of shame. But here I stand, with a living heir of the royal line, the only true heir." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Raylan placed a scroll on the ground, proof of the child's DNA, sealed by human and Eldrathan science councils. The king's fingers twitched. "You shame this court with your rebellion." "No," Valura said. "You shamed it when you believed." "A lie," a new voice rang out. "We have reviewed the documents." Heads turned. It was the High Historian of Eldratha. She stepped forward slowly, ancient robes trailing behind her. "This child carries royal blood. Pure. True. His DNA matches the king's line, and reveals tampering in the original infertility test." The court erupted in chaos. Valura's stepmother, hiding among the nobles, turned pale. She tried to slip away, but guards surrounded her. "It was her," Valura said calmly. "She faked the records, lied to the king, banished me." The stepmother screamed, "You were weak. You would have destroyed everything." "No," Valura said, holding her child higher. "I'm building something better." The guards dragged the stepmother out as the king stood, face pale and eyes locked on the infant. The baby blinked, reaching out a tiny hand. For a moment, the king's face softened. I I thought you were broken, he whispered. You broke me, Valura replied, but I healed. Without you. Outside the people waited. Then the gates opened once more. Valura stepped out, child in arms. The crowd went still. Then slowly, someone bowed, then another and another, until thousands lowered themselves in silence, not to a king, not to a throne, but to a mother who had returned. Later, in the quiet gardens of the palace, Valura sat beneath the glowing trees, nursing her child. Raylan stood nearby, watching her with quiet pride. You stood before him like a queen, he said. I didn't come to beg, she answered. I came to claim. And you did. She looked down at her son. He will have choices. He won't be told who to love, what to become, or who he must obey. Raylan smiled. Sounds like the start of a new galaxy. She looked up at him, eyes glowing. No, the start of our galaxy. Far away in hidden corners of space, rebel leaders, outcast colonies, and even exiled royals watched the broadcast. They saw the princess, the child, and the human by her side, and they all realized the same thing. The game had changed. The golden banners of Eldrathra swayed gently in the wind, but the hearts of its people beat faster than ever. Across the capital, whispers turned into chants, and chants became a movement. Long live the true heir. The queen has returned. The human changed everything. Inside the palace, Valura stood in front of a mirror. She wore no crown, no royal jewels, just a simple white robe, her hair braided like it once was in childhood. Her baby, now named Kalen, slept against her chest in a soft wrap. His little hand clung to her fabric like it was a lifeline. Raylan entered quietly. The council has gathered. Valura turned slowly. And my father? Raylan's expression softened. Waiting. But not on the throne. He says he's only watching now. The royal council chamber looked different today. No warriors in armor. No weapons at the doors. Just leaders. Silent and watching. Valura walked in holding Kalen. Raylan walked beside her, not as a bodyguard, not as a conqueror, but as family. The king, once feared by millions, sat to the side. His cloak removed, his voice low. You did what I could not, he said. You united voices that I crushed. I didn't do it alone, Valura replied. I had help from someone your empire once called a lesser species. She looked at Raylan. Someone who showed me more honor than this entire court ever did. The silence in the room cracked like glass. The king lowered his gaze. Then speak your will. Valura stepped to the center. I will not be your puppet queen. I will not sit on a throne soaked in lies. She raised Kalen gently. This child is the future. He carries two worlds in his blood, human and Eldrathan. And I will raise him to lead with truth, not fear. Outside the chamber, the announcement spread fast. Valura would not take the crown. She would raise her son outside the palace, among the people, not above them. Raylan, once seen as an outsider, would be named guardian of the royal line, a title never given to a human before. But more than titles, something bigger had begun, a rewriting of the stars. Months passed. The palace gates stayed. Open aliens of all kinds, nobles, farmers, soldiers, came not to kneel but to speak. Valura listened to them all. She traveled from city to city with Kalen in her arms, never hiding. People touched her robes. Children reached for the boy, with glowing eyes. They called him Starborn. Raylan became a teacher at the new Interplanetary Academy. He trained both humans and aliens in leadership, diplomacy, and most of all, empathy. One evening, on a quiet hill outside the capital, Valura and Raylan sat watching the suns set. Kalen crawled between them, chasing small, glowing bugs, dough. You ever miss Earth? Valura asked. Raylan thought for a moment. I miss the food, the sky, my mother's stories. Will you take Kalen there someday? Only if you come too. She smiled. He deserves to see both worlds. Raylan looked at her. You changed everything, Valura. You gave hope where there was only fear. No, she said softly. We did. Somewhere across the stars, in a cold room on a distant moon, an exiled noble watched a broadcast. Valura stood before a crowd of thousands, holding her son high. Her voice echoed. He is not the product of scandal. He is the symbol of union. And this galaxy must choose fear or future. The noble shut off the screen and whispered, "She's building something the throne never could." Back on Eldrathah, as night fell, Kaelin slept peacefully. Valura watched him through the window, arms around Raylan. Her voice was quiet, but firm. They tried to erase me. They tried to erase him, but now, the stars carry our name. Raylan kissed her forehead. And one day, he said, he'll light the whole galaxy.